preparing to stream. Says it's telling me it's streaming, guys. That's a good sign. I'm going to start pouring the tea preemptively. It's not even showing up on my thing yet, but look at this cool teacup that I have. And look at that beautiful robin's eggshell inside. This is from a company I found. They were advertising on Facebook. And whenever any company advertises on Facebook, the first thing I do is I take their name, I open a incognito browser window, and then I put the name in because I don't want Facebook knowing anything. No, about the fact that I'm buying these awesome coffee mugs. I don't want them to sell me, and there are 58 of them. But look at that handle. Isn't that satisfying? That's cool. So let's see how it takes to having tea poured in it. Here's the tea. Here's the teacup. It's happening. Oh, I'm doing this over my keyboard too. So what people don't realize is the stunt tea action that's happening live every Friday. It's good stuff. I see you there, Andrew. Good to see you, man. Okay, I'm delighted to report that I didn't spill tea all over my keyboard. So we're already off to a pretty good start. This is fixing to be a damn good live. I don't know if I'm fresh. What's the next stage of, like, on the scale of being fresh all the way to like stale or putrid? What would be the next stage from fresh? Because that's whatever I am. So I'm not fresh back from Costa Rica, but I'm, hey, Yana, I'm well within my best before date back from Costa Rica and time with Bay in ceremony. So I'm going to share two of the pieces of medicine I brought back, two things I took away from that trip, if I can remember them. We'll see. And then we'll dive in live with Tibi, who's here today, and we're going to do some live coaching. And as is always the intention on these live coachings, or these live coaching shows, that we're seeking to demystify transformation without removing the mystery of it. Because on some level, transformational work is a spiritual practice. It's spiritual work. And if we put it under the lens or the microscope of like science and what can we prove and how do we know and there's nothing wrong with that. And there are times in life where that is absolutely important, like when we are creating a vaccine, for example, and injecting something into people or whatever, getting people into cars. And what, did it just tell me my live video has ended? Okay, Andrew, you're watching. Has my live video ended? Because Facebook just said my live video has ended and I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to refresh this and see if that's the case. That's weird if it did that. Nope, it's not. You're an idiot, Facebook. I just refreshed and it came back. So this must be infuriating for people listening to this on the podcast, where it's just me doing a bunch of fiddling around with Facebook. It's nonsense. Hey, Jared. Hey, Monica. Nice to see y'all. So as I was saying, on some level, transformation is spiritual work. And what that means is that if we took all of the mystery out of it, if we completely remove the mystery, we would be left with something that would be inert, benign, sort of like a rock. Now, this is a beautiful rock, but most rocks you pick up off the ground, there's no life left in them. And that's what happens if we try to take all the mystery out and just put it under a scientific microscope. Coaching loses some of its magic. And that's a bit why, if you ever go into an organization and they've got like organizational coaches, often what's happened is inside a large bureaucracy, they're kind of scared of anything that would shake up the status quo. They like the idea of it. They're like, we want outside the box thinking inside this box. So like, we love that outside of the box thinking you guys are doing out there. Bring it here inside this nice box that we are feeling quite safe inside of. And so that's kind of what I'm speaking to. Like that kind of coaching, it's fine. It's not that it's bad or wrong. It's just lacking the verve. It's lacking some of the magic that is available in this profession, in this transformational work. So that's what we're seeking to do here. I'm seeking to remove some of the mystery so you can understand what's happening, but at the same time, be present to the mystery, the spiritual nature of this kind of work. So now that we've dived right off of the diving board straight into the woo, I'll tell you about my time in Costa Rica. And anyone else watching, please give us a shout out so that I can give you a shout out. Say, yo, what's up? Happy Friday, Adam. I like your shirt. I like my shirt too. So this trip down to Costa Rica was unexpected. I came back a month ago. I had a profound experience in ceremony, drinking plant medicine. And I shared with Bay, I sense, there's going to be a point where you drink this medicine with me. And I want you to know there's no requirement, there's no obligation. I'm very committed to not putting any pressure on you. I'm just going to hold the space knowing that's going to happen. And like, I was holding simultaneously, like, I'm okay if it never happens. And I have a knowing that at some point it will. That's a funny line to walk, So what I'm really doing is I'm getting myself to the point where I'm completely unattached to whether Bay ever chooses into this. And so from there, she kind of was like, I think I'm ready. She could feel that unattachment. She could feel the shift in me and was like, I think I'm ready for this. So I was like, great, we're going to go down instantly as soon as possible. So we ended up going down this past week. And if you haven't watched the live that Bay and I did on her page, you should go to Bay's account, Bay LeBlanc-Quiney on Facebook, and watch that live. It's really great. And it's mostly Bay sharing her experience. So I'm not going to share too much about that. I will share, it was really profound to go with my partner, my wife, the person I love more than anything on this planet, and get to be in ceremony, doing our work together, celebrating together, really luxuriating and taking amazing, exquisite care of ourselves, doing all that together. It's really a profound treat. And what I'll share today are the two parts of the medicine I brought back. I think I'm going to share, I don't think I have time for three. So the first one of the things I'd gone down with, the first thing I'll share is as I've sat in more ceremony, a lot of the work that I found myself engaged with has been below the level of conscious thought. So a lot of the medicine I've taken prior to this, and I include transformational coaching as a form of medicine because it's very similar to plant medicine, to ayahuasca. A lot of the medicine that I've taken and work I've done has been at the level of like my thinking, my thoughts, what can I discern, what can I distinguish about my thoughts? It's all been in this conscious space. Even the stuff that's unconscious, it can bring it up into my consciousness. A lot of the work I found myself doing as of late, as I've gone in ceremony, has been in my body, below the level of my thinking. And so that's like releasing stuff that's been held by my muscles. I'm not even aware I'm holding on to something, but my muscles have been like, shaped, protecting, held in a position for many, 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 many years. That's what our body does. The body remembers. There's a really good book called that. I trust it's really good. I haven't read it. Body, or maybe it's the body keeps score. I think that's what it is. But like, if you got hit at some point when you were a kid, being open and loving, your body remembers that. And then every time it's around someone who's like that, it's going to have like this tightening. And you're not even probably going to be aware of it because you've been doing it for so long, but that tightening just becomes the experience of life. And you just sort of like, you get to the point where like, I just don't like being around people like that. I notice my stomach starts to get upset. I feel sick. I think that's intuition telling me to move away from them. What it's actually doing, that's your body letting you know there's some unreleased trauma here. There's something you're holding on to. The body holds on to it. So a lot of my work has been releasing that sort of stuff. And as I came down, for this ceremony, I brought a bunch of intentions. And one of them was, I'd really like to take on my relationship with alcohol and the way I am addictively with other stuff, but specifically alcohol. And so the way I can be is quite, it's like a race to the bottom. So if you put a bag of candy in front of me, I'm like, I got to eat all of this fucking candy. We got to get all of this into my mouth before it's taken away. And likewise, that's the case with video games, with partying, with drinking, with whatever. So it shows up in many, many, many different ways, places, experiences, and so on. But the place where it's more problematic is alcohol, because alcohol's delicious. I enjoy a really good cocktail or a really good craft beer. But if I drink a bunch, I get drunk, it impacts my sleeping, I feel horrible the next day, I start to put on weight, alcohol's carcinogenic, a little bit of anything is fine, but drinking a lot of stuff, especially something carcinogenic, these aren't good things. And so, one of the things that's interesting about all this is I can very readily, it takes a bit of energy and effort in generating on my part, but I can stop drinking. Done that for a number of times. Like I've stopped for a year and then I come back to it and I stop for another year and I come back to it and I stop for 3 months. And so I've always been able to do that. It's not, and when I do, I don't have withdrawal symptoms or anything like that. But my relationship with it's a bit like a sawtooth wave. So it kind of like ramps up, ramps up, ramps up. And then I'm like, you shall not pass. Bam, cut it out. And it ramps up, ramps up, ramps up, cut it out. So on the one hand, I could simply abstain. I could simply quit, which is what I did with pot. Because with marijuana, that vice is too far back. It was too early a vice. And it's just a bit problematic for me. And so that actually felt very empowering for me. I haven't smoked pot in years and it feels really good. Booze, it feels different. And so I've often been like, I could just abstain from this, but like, I'd really like to be able to enjoy a single drink. Have a really nice made cocktail or make a really nice cocktail. And I've played around with all sorts of iterations of this. I've created rules, right? I only drink when we go out. I only drink when, sort of all stuff on top of whatever there was there that wasn't getting as resolved. Played with the idea of being kind of like Seth Godin and coffee. He loves making really beautiful, like pulling espresso shots for his guests, but he can't drink coffee himself. He's just not able to. So it's like, man, maybe I'm the guy that like has a beautiful bar. You've probably seen the pub in my house. Beautiful bar and like nice cocktail shaker and knows all about drinks and loves making drinks for his guests, but just doesn't drink himself. It's like, maybe that's the guy I am. That's not quite it either. And so I brought this down. This was one of the things I was like, I'd really like to get my hands around this a bit to see, can we do something with this? And on some level, this felt to me like something deep in my body. It didn't feel like a conscious, thinky kind of thing. So what happened was we got into this a little bit through a side chain, I guess, side door. The first night I went and they call for a service or they call for the cups of medicine. And typically they'll call twice in a night. We're serving the first cup of medicine, please come up and drink medicine. Now we're serving the second cup of medicine, please come up and drink the second cup of medicine. As a preface here, I want to say that if you are there to drink the medicine, then you are presumably bought into the idea that this medicine is healing. If you show up and you're like, this is no different than taking opioids to not feel pain, well, then what I'm about to say next will sound like kind of like, yeah, they're just selling drugs. What they tell you is don't think, drink. What they mean by that is when you drink that medicine, it's going to take you deeper into yourself. It's going to get you more present to whatever you've been avoiding in your life. It's going to have you plug into your body and confront everything that you've tried to avoid confronting for the last 5 years, which are then causing all these problems. And as you drink the first cup and get shown that, like, what is all this? And then they call for the second cup. Typically what can happen is you're like, that was scary. I don't know that I really want to confront that. It's the same thing if you work with a coach for a month and he shows you or she shows you a bunch of stuff and you're like, when it comes time for the next month, you're like, I don't know. Which is why when people work with me, it's a year up front that they're committing to, because if we did it month by month, they're going to get to the point where things feel rough and hard. And they're going to go, Adam, you're great. It's not about you. I just feel called in a different direction. And that saves them from having to continue to confront what would actually set them free. So don't think, drink. Don't think about this. Your ego is going to get a hold of this and start being like, should you drink? And then all that does is keep you rooted on your mattress, not going up, not drinking the second cup, not going deeper into what would truly set you free and heal you. So I was sitting there, I've drunken my second cup and I'm kind of like, okay, it's been about an hour. I can feel myself in the work, but maybe I should go up for a third cup. Maybe I should go and ask for more medicine. And I started to get really like loopy in my thinking about it. oh, should I drink more medicine, or is that my addict talking? Is it, oh. And as this was going on, Madre Ayahuasca started to come and speak with me. She often occurs like someone partnering with me. And she started to remind me of all these moments in my childhood where the way I was raised by loving parents committed to supporting their son to develop strength and passion towards the right things and to be successful in life and all of that. The way I was raised was that I would get something, and then at some point, my parents would kind of like Deus ex machina, they'd come in and take it away. So, for example, we'd go trick or treating, and I'd come home and I have a big ass bag of candy. And this guy loves candy. So I'd be eating my candy. It was amazing, giggling, fun, play. And then the next morning, I would be quite struck to discover my candy's gone because my parents had taken it away. You've gotten enough candy. Now we will give you candy as, we will give it to you in a metered amount. And what a metered amount typically ended up being was like a year later, I'd get like a disgusting old Halloween kiss from the year before. Like maybe not quite that drastic, but it was really, there was this real like, this is amazing. And then whoosh, it's gone. Another example was I got a Nintendo. My brother and I got a Nintendo. I'm old school. Nintendo Entertainment System, the original gaming system. I know Atari's before that and ColecoVision and all that, but with the little D-pad that was like a plus sign with square edges that carved out parts of your thumb if you played long enough, which they did. But anyhow, I loved this thing. And my parents concluded, Adam's a bit too into this. He's playing it too much. And so suddenly they're like, we're selling your Nintendo. But I love my Nintendo. That was my Christmas present. What's happening? Oh boy, Grimby's got to go bark because someone's dropping a parcel off. Yep, go bark, buddy. Good guard dog. So my parents sold my Nintendo, and Mother Aya is inviting me to notice, like, Adam, consider what choice would this little boy have given these circumstances for which no one is wrong? What choice would little Adam have but to consume as fast and as much as he can, knowing that what he loves is going to be taken from him? If you knew that this was going to be taken away from you, then can you see how what this boy created was really ingenious? It was the only way to maximize what he got. And so that became my way of going through life. Consume, get it all into you. And so from that place, I can be very addictive. And it doesn't just show up with booze. It shows up with like candy. I'll have the chocolate bar and it gets down this much. And I'm like, well, might as well eat the calories anyhow, because I'm going to eat them at some point and then wolf them down. And then feel bloated and gross and it doesn't feel good. Or like stay up till 4 a.m. because this is the one weekend night where Bay is away and I can stay up and I can do my thing. And I want to have this moment for myself and I'm never going to get another moment. And I'm going to watch another movie. Why are you watching another movie, Adam? I don't know. I just have to. So very, very understandable and also very like patterned. And so what Mother Ayahuasca was inviting me to do a year ago, actually, she'd given me a piece of medicine, which was go farther with less. And she didn't elaborate much on it. And she brought that back and was like, so here's the practice, Adam, is for you to keep practicing going further with less for now. You've drunken 2 cups of medicine, go farther with that rather than hammer more medicine back into you. Stick with what you had. And then be with everything that gets driven up by that. Be with all the feelings that show up for you. Be with all the experience. Be with all of the, oh no, I'm missing out. Be with the fear. Oh, fuck, I'm going to be sober before the end of the night. This sucks. Everyone else is going to be tripping balls and I'm going to be just like flat, stone cold sober. Be with that. And so the practice would be, that night in particular was like, don't drink more medicine. Sit with what you got. And what she said was like, look, you could abstain, but when you abstain from something, you don't have to confront this because you've shut it out. So there's no option at all. Much like when your parents took away the Nintendo, you never really had to learn how to self-regulate or even to feel, what is my body? What is my own intuitive wisdom calling for in this moment? Instead, it would be like, gorge yourself, gluttonize yourself, and then throw it away and abstain. And those were the 2 extremes I would operate between. And so she invited me, like when you get back at some point, if you do start to enjoy alcohol, drink a drink. and then sit with everything that gets driven up. And until you can kind of like scrape this out, you can think of it like cleaning out a kettle or a teapot where lime builds up as we use it more and more. Interesting, just boiling water creates lime, but scrub that lime out. And until you get this out, Adam, it's possible for you to get plugged into your own intuitive, do I actually want more? Would that feel good in my body? That's available. You can find that. But right now, all of this urgency, this fear of losing it, this fear of what if you don't consume everything sits on top of that. So you have to deal with that first. And the way you do that is you go further with less. So practice that. And then you'll start to be able to like feel into, do I actually want more? Would staying up tonight feel good? Would having another beer in this moment actually be enjoyable? What are the consequences? How are you going to feel about that? All of that's available, but only on the other side of me cleaning this out. Pretty profound piece of medicine. So that's what I'm practicing with right now. Rather than abstaining, rather than cutting stuff out of my life. Now I'm clear and empowered around cutting pot out of my life. That feels really good. Maybe there's a point where I revisit that. Right now isn't the time. And I'm not, sometimes some people hear that and they're like, but you should try it. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. And I just have a knowing about that. But in these other places, I'm excited to play with that and to just watch the discomfort that'll rise. And I want to be clear, there's some discomfort there, right? Because that gluttony got evolved as a way of, it kind of allowed me to really empower stuff being taken away from me. Because what then started to happen was I gorged myself on candy, beer, booze, video games, whatever, to the point where I felt sick. And then when someone took it away, it was like, oh, thank you. Thank goodness that got taken away because I was in trouble. And so the one hastens, like it leads back to the other side. And then I'm being denied something, I'm being denied something, I'm being denied something, I'm being denied something. Oh my God, give me all the stuff. I want all the treats because I've been getting denied for so long. And so, these two parts are parts of the whole. They fit together, very balanced, it turns out. Instead, I'm breaking that up, practicing going further with less. So that's some of the medicine I brought back. There's another piece, but I'm not going to share it because I want to bring Tibi on. So before he comes on, sometimes we have people on this show that have been working with me as clients, have been members of the Forge. And sometimes we just have people that randomly, enter into my orbit, which is always a delight too, because I don't know what I'm going to get, and neither do you. And so that's like really special. And so I'm going to bring Tibi on in a sec, and I'm going to have him share just how he came to be here live with me, what led to that. And then we're going to dive in. We're going to see where we're going to go. So Tibi, get your mic on. Get your camera on, get yourself on. What's up? What's
Hi.
up, brother?
Good to see you.
You too, man. Is it fun sitting in the green room? I always imagine it's kind of fun.
It is.
Watching me yak away. So how did what was your path to being here? Tell me, because I'm not super clear on that either.
Yeah. So the path, I was about to build a practice. So
a coaching practice, I assume?
Yeah, coaching practice, exactly. Yeah. So I asked about what are the best books I should read about building a practice, and probably one of the most famous ones was The Prosperous Coach. So I read that, got to know Rich, got into his community. Then as I started watching his videos, I got to know Christina Berkeley.
Yes,
so I got into her community as well. And through Christina, I got to meet then Toku. So I got into the dojo community, but that was after I talked to Toku, and apparently he's not running the dojo anymore. So he told me to follow you. So I started following you, and then you announced that you'll be having some guests this year. So
that's so cool. I love the chain. One leads to the other, leads to the other, leads to the other. Someone reached out to me on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and they were like, hey, you wrote a post on Quora. You know what Quora is?
Yeah.
You wrote a post on Quora 6 years ago to someone who is a wrestler who was really struggling. They didn't want to do whatever they were doing, and you gave them great advice. I'm pretty sure I didn't give advice. I'm pretty sure I just asked coaching, right? Ask questions. They're like, you really helped them out and it really resonated with me. And anyhow, I'm a rower now and I don't know, do you have anything you can share? And I was just like, the answer is yes, of course I did. But like more, I was in awe of serendipity and how like, well, shit, like 6 years ago, this thing happened and it led to this moment. And so I love that, you followed a similar path, not the same path, but like from Rich to Christina to Toku and then here live with us. So that's cool. Did you know Jana Hendrickson by any chance?
No.
Okay. Did you ever do the Samurai Coaching Dojo?
No, unfortunately not.
That's too bad. That was a fun program. Yeah. So Jana, who's in our
I've seen some lives from the dojo. But that was the only thing because I reached out to Toku, I think last year, but then we spoke only this year, and he told me that he wouldn't be running it anymore. So
that's right. Yeah. Kind of ran its course, and then it was time for what's next.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, why don't we dive right in? What are we gonna put I know you already told me, Tibi, but tell us again, what are we gonna spend our time looking at?
So I'd love to have some support around creating that practice, as I mentioned, and more specifically about the first step, which is all about connection. Because what I've been doing recently is, I know the second step is creating possibility for people and then ultimately inviting them into a conversation. Somehow, I was trying to figure out why. I was trying to skip the first step, which is all about connection. And I was trying to figure out like different ways and strategies, how to immediately invite people into a conversation. And eventually I had to learn it the hard way that it's not working, basically. So when you just, approach people and you tell them, hey, would you like the coaching conversation? Or I even tried the 50 conversations challenge, on Facebook in different ways. It's simply not working anymore, it seems like. So I was trying to figure out like, what has me want to skip the first step, the connect phase. And it's basically pretty simple. I figured out that because it would require like a total shift in my way of being. It would require like a huge breakthrough for me because for the past probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, I've done everything I could to create the opposite, to totally isolate myself. And now I'm about to create this practice, which requires me to be who I'm not, to be successful.
Got it. It's pretty clear. What did you do before this, Tibi?
I started teaching English and physical education, training football as well.
Football, like over here, we'd call that soccer, that kind of football?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I started teaching. Then we also opened up our language school. So I somehow also touched the leadership thing. So I started having some employees as well. But I wasn't really prepared for that. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't good at that. So I really sucked at that. We also went bankrupt. So, and then slowly I also transitioned more into mentoring first. So I started just basically sharing my advice on how to learn, how not to learn, what are the best strategies and so on. But I was always drawn to coaching as well. So I did a bunch of trainings on that and then ended up in a digital faculty of medicine. And I'm currently working as a coach for students of medicine.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds fascinating. Is it?
It is.
Okay, good.
Fascinating, yeah. It's pretty unique. Like they also have this opportunity to get coaching in that program, and it's completely in that curriculum. So like they have coaching for the first full year, basically.
Amazing. These are for like people training to become doctors. Is that
doctors,
right?
Yeah.
Wow, incredible. So, okay, so I got like your request is sort of like you want to put attention on connection, the first stage of building a practice.
Yeah, because I mean, that's my full-time job. So I work full-time there, but also I would love to create a small practice on the side.
Got it. So what do you want to, just so that we're like kind of calibrating, getting the goalpost set, what is it you'd like to leave with today?
Well, ideally to maybe also have a better understanding of why I've been trying to avoid the connect. And then also ideally, if possible, to find some more clarity around what I could do to create a breakthrough down the line.
What would, so if you had that understanding, what would that enable? Like what for understand it?
So that I could maybe, I mean, I already can spot, and I also understand why I'm not doing it. And there's also one more thing. I also asked you to talk about fear in one of the recent shows. So that was also my suspicion that it's showing up for me as fear, because I justify everything that I've got a great job. I love it. I don't want to leave that.
Right.
I have a family. I should be spending the free time I'm spending on my practice with my family instead. So there's also guilt in there. But then on the other hand, maybe that's just an excuse for me to not have to connect, to not have to go out there and do the stuff that feels edgy for me.
Right. So
with knowing that, I would love to know, I know that, I accept that, but how can I go through that?
Right. So it actually sounds like what you're wanting is to not have fear stop you and to get into connection as opposed to simply understanding it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. Because it really feels often for me like a zigzag world, from the straight line leadership. Like I sometimes have these moments when I connect and reach out to people and so on, but then I always come back to my standard mode, the default mode, which is not connecting with anyone, because why? What for? I don't need to do that because I've got my family, I've got my job, I have financial stability. So doing that is like not really necessary for me. But at the same time, I understand it's necessary for me to create that practice because it's the first essential step.
So is the only reason you want to connect with people so as to create a practice?
To create clients, yes. But that's not the only reason, of course, because I also know that's the area where I need the most growth.
Why do you need the most growth there?
Because that's what makes me most uncomfortable.
Okay, well, putting my hand in a blender and running it makes me really uncomfortable, but I'm not going to do it. I'm pretty clear that's not where. So like I get kind of like, well, I'm the most uncomfortable there, but do you have a reason to do it aside from that's where I'm most uncomfortable?
Well, another reason is because that every time I've done that and I've had success with that, and it was gentle, so not like connecting with 10 people or 50 people at a time. It felt great because I created some new connections, and it also opened up some new opportunities. So it's also that curiosity. I would love to know more people, and I will also love to move from that way of being as well.
Say more about that last piece you said. You'd love to move from that way of being.
Because as I said, it also comes from my childhood, I guess, that me and my brother, we were always in the background because our father was like really like this authority in the family. So he always had the last word, or basically everything that all the conversations that were happening in the family was around him. And we didn't get any words, we didn't get any say in that, never. So what I've developed, or what I've grown into, is someone who doesn't say anything, someone who is always quiet, someone who always had just a few friends, but those friends were really close. But I was always fine on my own, and I didn't feel the need to create more friends or, to surround myself with more people, because I've been always fine on my own, because that's how I've grown into that.
I'm just taking notes if you see me looking down.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like when a child is curious, like, you should not go there, but I wonder what it could feel like, what's there, the forbidden fruit. So that part of me is always there, like, what could be possible if I manage that? What could be possible if I could create that?
Right. So I'm just going to speak to everyone else for a sec. Okay. So like the first thing I'm noticing for everyone watching / listening is where connection currently sits for Tibi is like this thing he needs to learn how to do so that he can have a thing he wants, which is not going to be a very compelling driver for us. Because at best, from that setup, Tibi will figure out how to empower doing a thing only as long as it's required in order to get this other thing that he wants. And What that means is if he goes out and practices connecting and it doesn't get him that thing he wants, he's going to become less and less and less empowered. And the whole premise of this work is that we experience joy and fulfillment and delight and us, ourselves, our soul in the expression of everything we're doing, rather than just when we arrive at the finish line. So that's where I'm kind of getting curious with Tibi, is like, I'm really intrigued by this. And is there a reason beyond just getting to having clients that would have them want to connect? So what you're sharing, Tibi, makes a lot of sense. You know, it sounds like you kind of learned, look, connection's not available, so learn to be okay without it. Would that be an accurate way to describe it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I see. What did you hear in what I shared just now?
Yeah, what I heard is that I would be doing it for a reason, for something. And if I get that, or if I don't get that, I might quit, or I might say, well, I have it now. What's next? Or if I don't have it, I might say, well, it did not work out anyway. So what I was getting from that is, how can I find a more compelling way for me, or a more compelling why, reason behind that? And then to connect it with that joy and ease, to do it because it's fun, to do it because I just enjoy it, rather than connect it with the outcome.
Without connecting to the outcome?
Without connecting it to an outcome. Like, I'm doing it so that I can get this.
So what is it like when you connect with people currently?
I don't.
So like when you go to the grocery store,
it's the pandemic. It's still the pandemic. We're stuck at home. I work from home. So we have a newborn baby. So all I do is basically sit behind a computer and do my stuff, and then go and spend the time with the family. So I'm not with people. I'm not around people. And if I wanted to connect, it would mean going on Facebook or reaching out to some friends. Hey, how are you doing? Which is something I'm not doing right now.
But you do have friends.
Yeah.
And you connect with them from time to time, even if not in person. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you connect with some people, just not all the people.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm getting the sense you'd like to look into connecting with people outside of those you're already comfortable with.
Yeah, that would be great. But even if I went to an event now or a conference, I most likely would not connect with a stranger.
What would it be like? What would we notice if we were watching you?
I would be having fun. I would be enjoying the show or the presentations.
Like in a chair by yourself?
Yeah, and taking notes, and then just go home and talk about it to my wife.
So how is that when you're doing that? You know, we'll just make up some stories. So it's like a 3-day conference somewhere about something, and you're sitting and you're in your chair. Like, what's that like?
It's fun for me. It's okay for me. It's completely okay. Like, I don't need anyone. I don't need any connection to have even more fun right now. And even if that's the case, I come home and I say, well, that was great. And this is what I've learned. This is what I'm going to apply, and so on. So the story wouldn't start like, hey, I've met this and this person. I got to know that person, and that was great.
Right. How would the story go?
As I said, I just come home and this is what I've learned. This is what was on. It was great.
So it sounds like you're reliable to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else that like comes forward from this way of being currently? Like
any benefits?
Sure. Yeah. Benefits, anything else that you notice shows up or would be a part of your story as you were.
Well, I feel safe. I feel safe because I don't need to pretend to be someone I'm not naturally.
Is that part of how connection feels? Like you need to pretend to be someone you're not?
It's not like pretension, but it's more like forcing it, right? So,
like what would you force?
Like thinking about some questions, what to say, what not to say. So that it's more like having a clear structure. Like, okay, this is how the conversation is about to go. This is where we are in the conversation, and this is how we'll end it.
And why is that needed? Why do you need to do that?
Because I feel unsafe, I guess, in the conversation because I'm not doing it regularly.
Tell me more about feeling. So I just want to make sure I'm tracking you. So the nice thing is you go to like the conference or whatever, right? We go to the grocery store, you go here, you go to the playground, whatever, but you go to the conference, it's okay. It's super okay. It's the word you use to describe it. Sweet. We're hitting okay. That's good. You didn't say it's miserable. So that's better than, okay is better than miserable. And it's not just okay, it's super okay. I'm having fun. I hope you are too.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like
okay,
everything
good.
I do on my own is great. If I have an option
Yes.
to do something with friends or other people, if like is those close friends, I'm up for that. But then I usually come back and do my stuff on my own. Like you said, also video games, going for a walk with my kids on my own. So basically being with my own thoughts, being alone, just as I've always done that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. And I commend you, Tibi, for like, there's a lot of people that have no capacity to be with themselves. And one of the things I'm really hearing in your sharing is you've really developed a deep comfort in solitude. Like you are really comfortable with this guy over here. And that is something not to step over or to make light of. It's really, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to have. So nice work on that. So you'd be at the event. It's fine. It's fun. Even at times it's okay. It's safe. And then you said, I don't need to pretend I'm something I'm not. And you don't have to be thinking about what to say or like strategizing what's the next thing, which would be required if you were to connect with people.
So if someone approached me in that conference and they would kind of lead the conversation, I would feel comfortable.
Okay.
But if I have to be the one that approaches the other person and leads now the conversation and asks the questions and is interested in the person, that feels edgy.
What's edgy about it?
Because I don't have the reps.
The which? What was the word you used?
I don't have the reps. I haven't done the work. I don't have the repetitions. I haven't done
but
the work.
Why is that? What's edgy about that?
Just not knowing how to do it. Like, what's edgy? It's like when you don't know how to ride a bike, so you prefer not to try it. That's right, what it feels to me.
So imagine I said, what's scary about riding a bike, Tibi? And you told me, well, I've not ridden a bike much before. I would argue, well, that's not what's scary about riding a bike. What's scary about riding a bike is when you fall off and fall down a ravine and get hurt. The repetition is what protects you from that fear. So if we use that as your metaphor, right? In this conversation, I'm asking you, like, what's scary? What would be edgy about approaching someone without knowing what to say? And you're saying, well, I don't have the reps. I get it, because the reps would protect you from that fear. But what I'm not clear on, and it doesn't sound like we've got in the space, is, but what is that fear? What is it that's edgy about not having the reps and approaching someone and just saying, hey?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I guess
I
don't have an answer. I don't have an answer, I guess. Like, it's not what they would think, nothing like that. What they would say, none of that. So I don't honestly know. It's just not my natural way of doing it.
Well, not knowing is a beautiful place to get. And I'm going to speak to them for a moment, okay? Them, the audience is over here on my, whatever side that is left for me. So all of us as humans get to, I don't know. And then one thing you may do is just notice Tibi's energy about his I don't know, which is sort of like, it's the end of the book. What's scary about that? I don't know, the end. And then we'll put that book back on the shelf. And so as coaches, leaders, people committed to transformation, we really want to celebrate getting to I don't know, but then not stopping there, which is what our world does. Our world is like, well, if you don't know, you say you don't know, and then you sit down. That's not really leadership. It's not something to be criticized. It's just something to be distinguished. So Tibi, I love that you don't know, because that tells us we're in a place you've not gone before. And in order for us to create any kind of new experience for you of your life, we must be there, right? If we were in the well-worn Tibi knows territory, nothing new there. There's just more of what you already have. So I get that you don't know. Are you willing to stay here and to take some swings, not knowing that you might get it totally wrong, if there was a wrong way to do this? But are you willing to hang out here instead of like, I don't know, and then closing the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I would love to know. I would love to know.
Yeah. So So imagine, you're going up to someone at a conference, you don't have the reps, you've not practiced, and you're like, yet here you are, like a madman, practicing connecting with some other human being, and you don't know what to say. Imagine doing that and tell me, like, what is it that's really scary about that? What's edgy about that?
I'm not sure if that's the it's the correct answer or what you wanted to hear, but
okay,
like I don't have a structure, so I don't know what to do. Like I don't know what to say, right?
yeah,
So I would say something like, "So what are you doing here in this
yeah,
conference?" And then I don't know where to go next. So I don't have those safety wheels on the bike.
yeah. And so what might happen in that conversation or with that person you're connecting with when you don't know where to go from there?
Feeling awkward, I guess, that the guy approached me and then he doesn't know what to say or he doesn't know how to lead the conversation, which is also the belief I have that if I want to connect in order to create those clients, then I have to be the leader of that conversation.
A lot of pressure on you. Yeah. Okay, so it might be awkward. And then what's that person going to conclude about you?
That maybe he just approached me to be polite, or maybe he approached me thinking that he might get something, or I don't know. Because that's also the thought or the belief I have is when I just connect with someone I never talked to or someone I've spoken to like a very long time ago, then the first thing that they might think is, what do you want, right? Why are you connecting if that's not your natural way of being? And I also remember you from high school, secondary school, whatever, that you did not really do it. And now you come with this statement that you're just connecting with people, you are reconnecting with people because you're curious, you're interested in them. I don't buy into that. That's the belief I have.
Yeah. Well, and it's true to some extent right now, right?
Yeah, it's
because you had
true.
already shared like you're connecting so as to get there. So it's sort of like there's a validity to your fear a little bit. So they might you roll like imagine that you and I are at a conference and you're over there just minding your own business, content, maybe even it's super okay. And I just roll up and I'm like, hey, and then you say hi, and then I kind of just don't have anything to say. And then you don't have anything to say. What judgments are you going to start to form about me? It's awkward in this space. What judgments would you have about me in that moment?
Because that would probably be the reflection of me, right?
I have no idea. I didn't get, you're farther down the road than I am. I'm just curious. How are you going to judge this guy who showed up and is like, hey,
I mean, he wants to pitch, maybe, he wants to sell something.
Okay. What kind of people do that? If you were to judge those people, like, fuck this person, he just wants to pitch. What kind of people are just trying to pitch?
Marketers, financial agents.
Mm-hmm. So those are like the careers they might be in, but what's the judgment of those people? What kind of people just want to pitch?
Like they are pitching that for just to make profit and not because they want to serve me or help me, but just to make the profit. And I'm just one of the many for them.
Yeah. So give me a judgment of those people. Are they selfish, entitled? Like I'm wanting to get at like the negative judgment. You see someone like that, you're like, that fucking person is just
Well, selfish is a good one.
Okay. Okay. What else? Give me one more.
that he doesn't care about me really. So it's all about him making the profit, and he doesn't care what I buy. It's only about me buying something from him.
Doesn't really care.
Whatever you buy, just buy something, and then I'll leave you alone. And until I buy something, like he's always going to approach me. Hey, do you remember reconnecting? We talked 2 weeks ago. Have you changed your mind?
Right. And I get that's not who you want to be.
No.
Sounds like you might be afraid that's how you'll come across, though.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's like these are the two extremes. Like I don't want to be needy. I don't want to be pushy. But then,
can I just check before we go further? Would you also judge these people as being needy and or pushy?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Nice work, man. Okay, continue, please.
And then if I don't want to be that, and I just say, well, let me just be really gentle in every conversation or every connection, but then I'm not pushing myself enough to create more connections. So in a way, I also have a feeling that I need to bring that pushiness or neediness into the mix so that I also leave that comfort zone and go through the fear.
Well, it sort of sounds like those are the two ways that conversation can exist for you. You can either have it be you're needy, pushy, selfish, don't care, but at least you're pushing through that. You're like, I'm willing to be those things so that I push through my fear. Or go to the other extreme where you're like, it's okay if people approach me because then there's no chance that I'm being needy or pushy. They approached me, and then things can go the way that they go. Does that feel accurate?
Kind of, yeah.
Is there anything missing? You said kind of.
What's missing? No, it's accurate.
Got it. What's showing up for you in this moment?
What's showing up for me is I have a sense that what I should do, or what would be the right way for me, is like simply let go of all those judgments and the neediness and the pushiness and all that, and just simply, be gentle and just not have the agenda. But then I'm kind of afraid that I might always slip back into, why am I doing that for? Like there's nothing in it for me, because I haven't really found my powerful why for that, a powerful reason. So a powerful reason that I have now is just to create that practice. But maybe I need to find something to connect it to, and not to creating that practice. And once I get more comfortable and once I get better also at connecting, just because it's fun and I like that, I guess all those results or all of that will be also like more like a byproduct. It's going to happen on its own.
Yeah, like, to your point, you just said, maybe I should come up with a powerful why, because currently my powerful why is to create a practice. I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with wanting to create a practice. But currently you don't really have, in fact, what I've heard you share is you have a strong reason not to connect.
Yeah.
And you have so it's kind of twofold. One, there's a strong reason not to connect with people because they'll think you're needy, or you will be needy, selfish, pushy, not caring. They're a cog. You're using them towards an end. And on the other side of things, life is fine without connection. So there's no reason to introduce connection aside from this, like I have to do it. Sort of like filling out tax forms. I don't do that for fun. I do it because I have to. And it's sort of like you could do connection because you have to, but that's not really much of a compelling reason to go and create it. So are there any places you can think of where you're like, it'd be kind of nice to feel a little more connected, or like to not be doing stuff by myself?
Like an activity or?
Sure. Anything. Eating a sundae.
Well, I always like to be part of some groups or even some masterminds or smaller events for like up to 10, 15 people, which is not like super big. That feels always more intimate for me. Or maybe some retreats. I also love that.
Okay. What are some of the costs of this? So if like the way of being you've learned, let me take a step back, because I've heard you a few times talk about like what is just who you are or what's innate to you. And you're kind of like, well, what's natural for me, the way I am, is not to connect, is to just be by myself, isolated. Would you be open to the possibility that that's not who you are, that's just who you've learned to be?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what are some of the costs of that way of being?
It's a difficult question because I've been thinking about the question, and it's, again, I don't know, because everything that I have created as that way of isolating myself and creating a bubble around my family, and not let anyone in, was for a reason. And that's what I wanted.
What was the reason?
I've created, sorry?
What was the reason?
Just not to let anyone in, just not to.
That's what you did, but what was the reason for doing that?
I think it was because I was coming from that belief, like something can happen to us if I don't protect the family. I need to create that protection, that protective bubble around us.
Okay, so the reason is it protects you.
Yeah. Protection.
Okay. Yeah. Any other reasons? Any other positives to this way of being?
Well, that was the biggest reason. And I was doing everything I could just to create that protection. And now I've created that and it feels fulfilling.
How does it feel fulfilling?
Because I have that feeling of safety and stability as well.
And feeling safe for you is like, I feel fulfilled in my life.
Yeah. I feel safe that nothing, like, I have a lot of control around things, and there's nothing that is unexpected or nothing that can really catch me off guard like that.
Got it. So a lot of control.
Yeah.
Nothing catches you off guard. Okay. Anything else?
And another reason was because also in our family, I've seen a lot of intrusion from the external world, like people are trying to hurt my family members and relationships and marriages and so on. So that was also another reason, like, no, I'm going to really protect it. And I'm going to create this bubble so that no one can really hurt us or damage our relationship or marriage or family.
What can you help me understand when you talk about like intrusion? What kind of intrusions?
Temptations.
Other women?
Yeah.
Stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Relatives as well. Relatives.
And when you say relatives, you mean like temptation in that regard as well?
No. Arguments like in family, trying to like break the family unit. Yeah, drama, exactly. Yeah.
Got it. So just so I'm going to speak to everyone watching, what you'll notice where we started, I was like, what's the cost of this way of being? And where Tibi went was like the benefit of it. So when we ask a question and someone starts to share us the answer, the opposite, great, we go with the client. So where Tibi's at is like, well, here's all the reasons why I do this. Great, let's get those on the table. Rather than trying to like punch our way through where his brain's at, we just want to meet it and go with it. Okay, great, let's talk about what the positives are. And there are positives, aren't there, Tibi? Like, in fact, I'm hearing quite a few. So in a world that was unsafe, that there was intrusion, that there was people meddling, that there was drama, that there was temptations, there was all this stuff. And you are wanting more than anything to be a good man and to like preserve the sanctity and the safety of your family, this makes a lot of sense. It protects you. It lets you have a lot of control. Nothing catches you off guard and kind of see everything around you. You can make sure that like you're 1, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of anything that might be risky and ensure it isn't, and protect from intrusion. Even your own subconscious, that like you're a man, and as men, we find women attractive, like even protecting against those sort of things, like very noble in some ways. Anything else that you see as we're talking about this, like, yeah, it benefits me this way and this way, or anything else like that.
Well, it's also then, this inner peace, I guess. Like I go to bed calm, I wake up calm, because I know everything is under control and it's protected, and you have this shield around the family. And then if something is risky or is about to be risky, then I know how to prepare for that, or I can take those steps because, I'm in charge of that. I've created that, so I know how to run that and how to protect it.
What do you have to trade in order to have that calm?
Like, what am I giving up for that?
Yeah. Or accepting or tolerating.
Nothing.
So it's free. There's nothing that you had to give away or cost or anything like that.
Well, the cost was that I've made a decision that I'm not going to connect. I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to talk to strangers. I'm not going to create new relationships.
But you sound very content about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you want to, I'm not understanding why you want to change this then. If I'm hearing you right, you've successfully isolated, you've kind of cloistered yourself and your family. You're safe, you're protected, you have control, complete control, protected from intrusion. You have inner peace, you have calm, you go to bed calm, you wake up calm, and there's nothing you have to give up to have that. Why would you want to do something different?
Because when I'm already with people, when I'm in a conversation with them, I love that peace. So that's what I was also saying, that I was trying to subconsciously probably first skip that first step. And I was trying to have them immediately in a conversation because that's where I really feel okay and feel home. And that's where I can also do the magic then.
So what is it you have to be with in order to get to that thing that isn't available currently?
Well, what I have to be with is how to connect, or if there's another way to overcome that step, but I guess there's not.
Well, I don't know, but it sounds like from your own reporting, there isn't. There's sort of like, if people are inside my little cloistered gated community, then I can connect with them. But if not, can't. And so and then you're like, so what I've tried to do is just jump somehow to like this, where they're already in here. I already know everything they're going to do. I already know how the conversations, I already know all of that stuff. Can't seem to get there. Can't seem to just jump there. And so I'm asking, like, you're saying, oh, well, I need to know how to connect. But it sounds more like there's something you're unwilling to be with that exists outside of this gated community, for which you're unwilling or unable to like allow yourself to be with that thing that would be required before they came in. And I'm asking, like, what is that thing you would have to be willing to be with that you currently aren't? And I'm doubting it's a set of instructions for how to connect properly.
Yeah. To be with. I think in some way it also has to do with owning that this is what I do now, because I guess like the whole family has probably no clue what I do or what coaching really is. And that's why if you also, if you check my profile on Facebook, the last post or the last thing I have is from last year when I posted just a family picture. So there's no sign of me doing exactly what I do.
Yes.
So that's, I guess, also overcoming that, like owning that.
Why do you want to coach people, Tibi?
Because I love the change that they create. I love the results that people create.
How come? Because everything you've told me is actually what you love is not change, things staying predictable and safe, and that gives you fulfillment and inner peace and calm. So why would you want to support people to create change?
It's possible that because we teach what we most need to learn. So maybe that's also what I would love to experience, that change kind of. And when I see that change that other people make it, it inspires me.
Well, what's the change that, I mean, so I heard you say, like, we teach what we most need to know, which is not inaccurate, but it's also like a kind of a bit of a cliche.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that that's not true, but that doesn't tell me why you would want change yourself. It just tells me like a saying, an aphorism that makes sense, right? Sort of like if you were to ask me, Adam, what are you afraid about going and talking to CEOs? And I was like, oh, I'm afraid of failing. Well, that's always true, but it doesn't really tell you much about what I'm actually afraid about, right? They're going to spit in my face. They're going to call me a loser, pat me on the head and say, thanks, little kid, go away. So I don't intend this as criticism, but more I'm intending to bring you some rigor here. From everything I've heard so far, you actually are against change. So that doesn't have to be the way it stays, but I'm kind of I'm asking you what I believe might be a bit of a penetrating question. Do you really want change? And if so, why?
Change in general, or change in the ability to connect?
They're kind of the same thing. They're both change, both transformation, both something different than what you're currently doing.
Well, also to kind of prove it to myself that I'm capable, that I can do it. Like there's no external expectations from parents or anything like that. So it's just maybe more to myself. Like I have failed a few times, and now I would love to, prove it to myself that I can do it, that I can create the change, that I also can go through that fear, and I can make that transformation for myself as well.
Why do you want to prove that to yourself?
To also be the role model for my kids.
So you don't want to be the role model for what's currently happening?
That's a good question.
I've been working on them.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't understand. You guess so. What do you mean?
I guess not. So it's not what I would love to model to them, but it's more like the other version of me then.
So tell me about the life you would like, 40, how old are you?
34.
34. Okay. So 35 years or so, give or take, down the road. What describe to me like the way you'd like to see them, living their life?
My kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely being more open than me, open to creating relationships and communities, or being parts of bigger communities, and not doing it alone. Because also one of the statements that just somehow stuck with me from my dad was, you can never rely on other people, and if you want to do something properly, do it yourself, right? So that is
lonely.
That was the statement that has always been with me.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's dangerous with other people. You can't rely on them. You can only rely on yourself. And I've been experiencing that it's not true. I just have to experience that more. And I also want to show my kids that it's completely not true. And that would only close them off from the world and opportunities in their life.
So you'd want them to be open to creating stuff, open in general, I heard you say, not alone.
Yeah.
What else would you want for the way that they're living their lives, regardless of what they're doing?
To create better relationships and better connections as me.
How come? Why would you want that for them?
Because somehow I also know that I'm missing out on something, like the opportunities and the possibilities that new relationships and new insights from other people and new perspectives could also bring me. And every time I am with, or that was more like pre-COVID, that when I was with some new people, that also filled me with energy and more curiosity. And oh, that was great because I was with people and I learned from them. And then the pandemic hit, and then I was like closed off from everything. So I was only on my own. And every now and then I again went into communities, and then it was like, oh, great. Like I was missing that because there was so much learnings, stuff that I can also get from other people as well in terms of like growth for myself.
Yes.
So when I close myself off, I know what I'm missing out. So it's like, I miss that, but I don't miss that so badly that I need to, go out.
Yeah, well, like one of the things I noticed, Tibi, is you're very good at like, how much latitude do I have with you? Can I just like put it on the table? Can I give you the fastball?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So it's like you're very good at empowering what you're resigned to. You know what resignation means? Like you're familiar with that term? People often think resignation is like, I guess this is the best life can be. It sucks. But that's not how I experience you at all. I experience you as like, maybe intellectually knowing this isn't true, but like at a deeper level, kind of still believing like you can't really trust people. People are unsafe. The only way that you can be safe is to like lock out the rest of the world. And then I'm okay with the cost of doing so. So much so that it's kind of hard for us to get at that cost. It's sort of like, well, things are pretty good. Even the way you described is fulfilling, inner peace, but I imagine, let me first talk to the audience and then come back. Okay. So for everyone, where we're at in this conversation is kind of like, I've been asking questions, but it's like, you can probably feel like Tibi's sophisticated. He's got a sophisticated contraption here. And just asking these questions, my sense is it's like the contraption we're dealing with is a bit too sophisticated. It's like a really perfect shiny shell. It's just hard to get in. So we're at the point where if you were marking me on like core competencies of coaching, you'd be like, oh, Adam's doing some telling, or he's kind of veering away from asking questions. I'm doing that intentionally. So if you're sort of like, oh, the thing to do is you just like tell people what you think. No, be very intentional about that. And that we're getting to that point because I've been doing a lot of exploration with Tibi, and sort of that's where I've arrived at. So, first of all, Tibi, this is really familiar. What you're describing, I can relate to it a lot. And this was, like you could be an exquisite lawyer with these set of skills where it's like you're Teflon. The world can't get at you. You're impervious to it. And so like shit can happen. Your family members can be like, and you're just like, well, that's your shit, not mine. And my family's protected and it's all good. And, I hear you describe like fulfilling and inner peace, but what I'm more present to, both when I remember myself in this place and a little bit when I feel into your heart, instead of fulfillment, I feel contentment. It's okay.
Yeah.
Which was the words you first used. And then you sort of like added some flair to them, but it's like, it's okay. It's not bad. And if the game of life was bad and not bad, dude, you're winning. The bad news is that there's this whole other range of like, holy fuck, this is crazy and amazing and rich and joyful. And you get to be crazy like this guy or other people that are more inspiring for you, whoever it is. And when you described inner peace, I got that, but it felt more to me like boredom, which is very peaceful. And it doesn't mean it's always boring, but to hear you describe it, it sounds kind of like a lake or an ocean without any waves or ripples or wind on it. And if you're on a boat in that, at first it's kind of peaceful because it's like, thank goodness there's no storm tearing the sail off the boat. But after a while, you're like, fuck, like, how much longer? I'm getting bored of this. What do we do? We're just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah.
And the third
I
thing
think that's
heard,
totally right. If I can interrupt you, that it's.
Please.
I would love to also, like, what would be the benefit of leaving that? Like the why, a powerful why would be to experience life for me, to create more experiences.
Yeah. Well, thanks for owning that. The last thing I want to say, tell me more about those experiences you want to create.
Well, I think this change happened when I became a dad 2 years ago. And that was kind of like when I started feeling like, okay, now my role is a bit different. And now I kind of have to sacrifice all that.
Right.
And also maybe the possibilities until like 10 years from now, maybe.
Right. Plus 2 or 3 years, plus infinity.
Yeah. And then somehow I accepted that. And I said, okay, let me just not fight for that because probably there's no room for that right now. Or maybe I should not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, if that's kind of how Resign works, is when you become a dad, I don't know yet. We're trying to have a family ourselves, but like what I do know, having lots of clients who are dads and being in lots of conversation about this, when you become a dad, something shifts biologically for you. And you are no longer the most important thing in your life, which is a beautiful thing in a lot of ways and kind of fucking annoying in other ways. So I'm told. And it's worth it. Every parent, don't worry, it's worth it. But it's still true. And from that place where you can sometimes be left is like, boy, there's what I feel called to do and I'm empowered to, and then there's my desire. And the space between what you are called to do or able to do or willing to do and what you desire, in that space lies a degree of heartbreak. This doesn't just happen with fatherhood. This happens everywhere. But it happens. And it's especially pronounced with fatherhood because our children are such a compelling biological pull. We can't ignore it, right? And so what Resign does is it's a solution to that heartbreak. If we take our desire and we quell it, we reduce it, we simmer it, we drag it down, then the amount of heartbreak that we're feeling becomes less and less and less and less and less until we can be here and we can be okay. So we experience contentment. We like our life a great deal.
So it's like I give up on those desires so that I don't have to experience the breakdown or the heartbreak.
Exactly. But here's the catch. Your desires never go away. All that we do is we turn their volume down. So they're still there in your heart. And so what tends to happen is that we experience them and that heartbreak kind of like low grade frustration over time. A low grade,
like over time it eats you up because it accumulates.
Yeah. And things like the gas rising 3 cents become really annoying to us, even though it's like, what, it's like half a cent, it's 50 cents more when I fill up. And yet that, because that churn is just there always. So is this making sense, first of all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Thanks for letting it in, dude. You're doing really, really great work, Tibi. I want you to know that. It might feel like we haven't gotten anywhere. I don't feel like going and connecting with people. I want you to know on this side of the call, what I'm witnessing is a man doing really courageous work, letting himself feel some of that gap. Got that?
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful. So for that ship on that boat, on that ocean to move, it needs wind, right? And if it's going to have wind, there's the potential of storms. There's the potential of like, I don't know, krakens, whatever happens on boats. That's why I don't go on them. They're scary. This is where I stay. And so there's a degree to which for you to start to move beyond where you're at, there's kind of 2 ways you can get out of it. They both involve being willing to let go of some of the contentment you feel, some of the inner peace, as you called it, right? Because that inner peace, that still ocean. The first one is you can start to notice the stuff that you're not okay with, or that you're not happy about, or that you're like, fuck, why is it always this way? You know, let the voice of your discontent be heard, because discontent and desire are the exact same thing. That makes sense? And discontent is going to bring you back around to what you really desire. The reason we feel discontent, like, this office is so bland, really what that is like, I want more color in my life. So even if it's sort of feeling like we're complaining a bit, it's actually leading us back to our desire. And the other thing is to start to listen to the voice of your desire. What do I wish there was more of in my life? What do I wish for more of? When you're at the events that you go to, if you go to events and you notice you're by yourself, it's a beautiful thing that you're content. I really want to stress that, but it will start to open things up for you a little bit more, as if you can simultaneously allow yourself to be content and also, but what else do I wish was here that seems to be eluding me? I wish I could be. Those people over there laughing and having fun, and I'm annoyed at them. Shut up. Some of us are trying to read our book by ourselves in the stage. That's what it would be like for me. Maybe not for you. But you know that feeling where you're like, it's kind of annoying that they get to have that, and I want some of that. Is this familiar at all for you?
Yeah.
Start to notice that and start to listen to that.
Yeah, because I mean, I've always had those desires, but as you showed me, it's just like turning down the volume and coming back to the contentment, to not experience the heartbreak and not long for that. Like, yeah, I would love to have that.
Yes.
And because I think I've gotten really good at turning it down, because I was always trying to come back to that contentment, because that felt familiar.
Yeah. And Tibi, you did this from such a beautiful, generous place. Like, this was not something you created out of malice or selfishness or anything. You did this because this was what you were kind of sold, was how the world was. Your father taught you with the best tools he had, right? So this isn't to make him wrong. This is what he was taught by his dad. But he taught you connection doesn't really exist. People either talk at you because they want something from you, and your job is to sort of like just sit there and tolerate it. And if that's what connection is about, who the fuck's going to sign up for that, right? It makes sense. Well, I'm just going to block that out. This is way better. So it's an act of courage for you to start to notice your desire, to start to notice your discontent. And what you're spiritually doing is you're starting to listen to the voice of your heart. You can hear it. And for now, what I would suggest is not acting on it, just hearing it. And if you start to listen to it more and more and more, you're going to start to notice things like, man, I feel a bit lonely in this moment. And the beautiful thing about that is a desire for connection, free of wherever it leads. Is this making sense?
So is it like tuning into what I'm missing in the present moment? Like checking in every now and then, like what's missing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, because the power of resignation, especially what I call empowered resignation, which is what I can be very good at, and what you, I would assert, have a little bit, is we get so good at turning our desire down that we're like, there's nothing I need. It's like if you imagine a building that has a beautiful atrium in it with like trees, and the ceiling goes up fairly high, and a bird flew into it, and then the doors closed behind it. The bird's like, oh, this is great. People drop food on the ground. There's a tree for me to build my nest in. I remember sort of on some level, I used to fly high and there was like a blue, but I don't know, this is great. So that's a little bit like we get into this gilded cage where it's like, man, it's safe and it's clean and it's easy.
And I've got everything I need. Yeah.
Yeah. And yet there's something I want beyond that point. So I have a reflection for you, something I want to read you. But before we do those two, I want to check, what do you see you might take on as a practice coming out of this conversation today?
When I do the reflection on my own, when I'll soon be walking, also going for walks with the little one, I will shift my focus to what's missing, to notice like everything's great. I'm grateful for everything I've created and we've created, well, what's the little piece? What's the tiniest thing that's really missing? And then maybe create a list of those items, just seeing as it builds up, and then noticing what that will do also in the long term. If I am able to come up with like more and more things, if that is going to prompt me to create or to go for those desires.
Yeah.
If that is going to prompt me to take action.
The nice thing about it is it's already there. You know what I mean? Like that stuff it's already like, I want more. And we're trained in our society not to want for things because we're taught like, you should learn to be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
But like wanting for something more, especially with someone like you who has such a strong muscle and being okay with what you have, if you can allow both of those, right? So seeing the perfection that's available in the moment with your child, walking with them, that's a gorgeous, beautiful thing. And then allowing yourself to have desires beyond that so they can both be true. Wow, I want an ice cream to share with my kid, and this walk is so perfect exactly as it is. I'm fine if it never comes.
It's the usual voice, like, I've got everything I need, I've ever dreamed of. So how dare you dream of something more?
Yes, exactly. Great catch. So good. Beautiful. I have a reflection for you, and then I want to read you something, okay? The reflection is, my sense, Tibi, is who you are is connection. Part of the energy I get from just being with you is like a sense of connection. And I don't find it challenging to connect with you. I find it quite easy to connect with you. I feel there's a real desire from you to like reveal part of yourself, to share more of yourself. And my hunch is you've just been trained out of that, just like your dad was, just like his dad probably was, and so on and so forth. You don't have to do anything with that. I'm just going to offer it to you. I had one other practice that might serve you. So as you go for a walk, one thing that can be helpful is just to practice 1% more connection. So that might be making eye contact with the people you walk by. Something as simple as that. Do you do that currently?
Yeah.
Cool.
What's next? What's the next percent?
So then you might smile at them. Or you might say hi. Or how do you say hi in Slovakia?
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
Yeah,
oh,
like
sweet.
pirates.
It's like nautical. It's like boats. Okay, cool.
Ahoy.
Now I know that. Ahoy.
Yeah.
Hello, Maria. I love it. So you might say ahoy to someone as you walk by. Just practice like going 1% further and then notice, how was that for me? And probably it's going to be a little edgy. So that's fine. But also, what else? Did I feel different? Do I feel a little more open? Do I feel more closed in this moment? So all you're doing is practicing 1% more and noticing what that does for you.
And then I guess at one point, I'll get to a state when I say, well, I've already come to this level, so now it would be great to also say something or say the next thing.
Possibly. Like it might, and I'm not saying no, it won't, but more the magic in this work is to be exactly where we are. So who knows what it'll lead to? And that's the challenging thing about coaching and building clients, is because we're like, okay, I'm willing to do connection provided that, but then we can't really connect because what we're really doing is I'm doing a thing provided.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm just going to connect with this person and discover the joy. Andrew, who's in the comments here, went through the Creating Clients course when I did it. And on the end of it, he said, you know what? And one of the best things that I got from this course was I've discovered this real joy in connecting with people, like regardless of what happens. And that's where the magic in coaching and all of this work lies, because we just become someone that connects with people, and then stuff comes back to us through that because we're open to it, right? It's hard for the world to bring you abundance right now because you've got it kind of like you've got a castle. Yeah. So I want to just read you a comment that Andrew put. He said, damn, I love that reflection that Tibi is connection. I felt that as well. And I love that you put it into the space, Adam. So I just want you to hear that I'm not the only one that sees that in you.
Could you maybe just a bit elaborate on that, like what that really means, maybe in more detail?
Sure, but why don't you take a swing first? So what do you think I mean when I say who you are is connection?
Makes no sense to me on this end.
Great, take a swing anyhow. You knew I was going to let you get away with that.
Well, people usually tell me that if I'm already in the connection, it's easy for them to be honest, to open up, and to say what they think. Because somehow they feel that I'm really connected to them, if it's one-on-one, because I'm really with them.
Yeah. Beautiful, dude. It's fantastic.
And that's where I'll also be noticing that, especially like very early on in coaching, people bring up stuff.
Yeah, like they share with you readily. Yeah, of course. It's part of your gift. And I imagine you're also really present when it, like you said, I don't want it to be awkward, right? So I imagine you're really present when you don't feel the connection. Is that accurate? Yeah. That's because you are a connection. So people like you and me who are a connection, we really hate the feeling of there not being connection. It's really painful for us, like existentially painful. So that's another way you can see, like, oh, no wonder who I am is connection. That's the very essence of what I bring into the space.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense now also as you say that, because oftentimes when I'm in a conversation with someone, like there's no, the connection is missing and they're talking rubbish. So I'm like, I wish I was in a different place now.
Right,
because
you
I'm
disconnect.
Missing that connect.
Yeah. Do you want me to elaborate more, or do you feel you got what you needed from that question?
Go ahead. I would love to hear that.
Sure. So, well, some of the parts about connection that I've managed to discern for myself are I'm fascinated by people. And I love, like, sometimes I'm just like, man, I just want to know everything about this human being, which initially could be kind of intimidating for people because they're like, why is this guy so up in my business? I had to learn how to calibrate that to find what's the level of connection this person is currently comfortable with. But like, that's part of the energy I am. I love getting to know people deeper. I also had to learn how to love small talk, because it's like, oh, this person's just not yet comfortable for the depth of connection I want. So I meet them here. Can I connect at this level? And then we can go in deeper. So people who are a connection, we're natural connectors, we're natural networkers if we want to be. We don't have to do or know the answer at all. We just have to show up and be curious about people. And the beautiful thing about that is it's who we are already. We just forgot it. We were trained out of it by the world around us, doing its very best to raise us in a world that can sometimes be harsh. Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
As you were talking about connection, and as I reflected that and read Andrew's, your face lit up, your energy shifted. So that's always a good sign too. Let me read this passage. I've read this a number of times on here. It's from this book, Illusions by Richard Bach. So once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. Have you heard me read this before, Tibi?
Carry on. Maybe it's familiar. Okay. I'm not sure now.
The current of the river swept silently over them all, young and old, rich and poor, good and evil. The current going its own way, knowing only its own crystal self. Each creature in its own manner clung tightly to the twigs and the rocks along the bottom of the river, because clinging was their way of life and resisting the current was what each had learned from birth. But one creature said at last, I'm tired of clinging. I cannot see it with my eyes, but I trust that the current knows where it's going. I'm going to let go and I'll let it take me wherever it will, because clinging, I will die of boredom. The other creatures laughed and said, fool, let go, and that current you worship will throw you tumbled and smashed across the rocks, and you will die much quicker than boredom. But the one heeded them not, and taking a breath, did indeed let go, and at once was tumbled and smashed by the current across the rocks. However, in time, as this creature refused to cling again, the current lifted him free from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more. And the creatures downstream, to whom he was a stranger, cried, look, a miracle, a creature like ourselves, and yet he flies. See the Messiah come to save us all. And the one carried in the current said, I am not a Messiah. I'm no more different than you. The river delights to lift us free if only we dare to let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure. But they cried all the more, Savior, all the while clinging to the rocks. And when they looked again, he was gone, and they were left alone making legends of a Savior. What are you hearing that?
Spot on. Like, those creatures are basically people around me. I have a sense that they're not, they don't want me to see let go. They don't want to see me let go.
Yeah.
Because what could happen with me? Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the castle,
as you also read that, I want to let go so that my kids can see that I managed to let go. And
yes.
What was possible because of that, because I had the courage.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the big challenges I see for parents is they want something for their children and they try to give it to their children rather than modeling it by living it themselves. And that's, there's no judgment I can even bring myself to have for that, because it's so noble and its intention. It's just a little bit like we're blinded, right? We can't quite see, and So I want to acknowledge you, Tibi, and then I want to kind of wind down and do a debrief, and we'll check some of the questions we've got. But before I acknowledge you, is there anything that would have this feel complete, this conversation we've had?
It's complete.
Cool. Well, then may I acknowledge you? Good. So first of all, I really do acknowledge you, Tibi, for the connection you are. And one of the places that's so evident to me is in your path here. You've connected with the Rich Living community. You reached out and you talked there. And then you found your way to Christina Berkeley, and you talked to her and connected with her. And then you found your way to Toku, you connected and talked to her. And then you found your way to talking and following me. And then you ended up on this call. That's all connection, all up in this business. And I really acknowledge you for the brilliance and the requirement for you to create the contraption you did to stay safe in a world where it wasn't safe, and around parents where it wasn't really viable. Connection wasn't really available. It was just there if someone needed something from you. And I acknowledge you for the courage and for the father you are, being willing to be in this conversation, to take a look on your side of the fence and to practice 1% more, to practice on a gradient, to practice leaning forward, and just the tremendous vulnerability and courage and the stand for something being possible beyond where we are, that you would even be willing to take a look outside these safe walls and be like, yeah, but what else? What if I'm not fully content? Because the world will train you that it's a really good thing to just be content with your lot in life. And I acknowledge you for the coach, father, and man you are, that you're not stopping there. Really, really great work today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I see your question, Maria. I'm going to come back to it. Hey, Bill, long time no see. Before we go to the questions and the comments, anything you want to share that you were present to, surprised by, questions you had, Tibi, anything along those lines?
I kind of knew that we would end up in a different place. And I have a sense that probably also in the first half, I was protecting what I have created.
Yeah.
I mean, subconsciously, probably I wasn't going to let you in somehow. There was a moment when that somehow broke, and then you penetrated.
You let me in.
Yeah.
You let me in.
So maybe that's also just another side that it's that I need a bit more time than someone else who is more gifted at that, or more natural at that. So
what, letting people in?
Letting people in, and also approaching people. So maybe I need more time to be around them, be with them until that moment comes, and then I can also approach them more easily.
Well, I think I noticed,
and it's the opposite of exactly what I was doing now. I was really trying to rush the process to invite them yeah. Instead of slowing down. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's coaching's really hard work, because the way the world's set up is go out and get business, make money, get paper. That's the way it's set up, and everything is about that. And coaching is the opposite. It's slow way down, and we have to be willing to build relationship, and we have to trust that building relationship in and of itself is its own reward. And then we have to trust that when we serve people, it comes back. There's all of this stuff that's so challenging. One, because it's challenging by itself, and then two, because the flow of the rest of the world is counter to that. All these fish are swimming in this direction, and we're kind of trying to go like this, and they're hitting us in the ribs. And so first, I totally agree, I'm with you. Second, this conversation was actually kind of a beautiful modeling of what you were talking about, where it was like, my hunch is maybe you, and certainly a little part of me was like, great, he wants to know how to connect. Let's get him connecting with people. And then it's like, oh, we gotta slow way down and get connected ourselves in this conversation. And until there was that point where you kind of like let me in a little bit further, there wasn't much we could do other than just like kind of hang out where we were. You know, it's like when you're getting a massage, someone can like try to get in deep with the muscle, but it's just going to cause more injury. We got to work with the muscle and go slowly and let it be there. So yeah, what I felt was like just really beautiful partnership with you. Yeah. Any other questions, any thoughts other than that?
That's all from me.
One thing that showed up for me was I quite enjoy teaching. And, you know, like I bring a lot of brilliance into the space, and part of what brilliance is good at is taking concepts that can be challenging and like putting them into a way that people can follow along with. And so when you were like, I saw your coaching request when you sent me the form beforehand, and it was like, help me with the first part of that thing. Like there was a part in my brain that was like, hell yeah, we'll get to teach. It's going to be cool. And as we started to talk about it, I could tell that's not going to be what this conversation is going to be. And there is a part of one, I'll say teaching's a bit safer. When I'm teaching, I know the material, right? I've got my feet firmly on the ground. Coaching, I'm in trust. And there's a moment where, and safety is nice for my ego. My ego likes that. So there's a moment where I could tell our conversation was like, whoop, nope, going over this way. And there's a part of my ego that is designed to keep me safe that was like, no, like do the teaching thing. I was like, nope, this is the path we're going on. I'm going to trust what's happening between Tibi and I. So funny to catch that. And then where we ended up was beautiful, I thought, like really profound and beautiful and everything that came forward. So funny how every fucking time that sort of thing happens. So I'm like, no, but we're going away from the right thing. Oh no, this is the perfect place to be. Yeah. Let me just read some of what we had. So Andrew was sharing, he could definitely relate to that feeling of getting your life back a few years down the road. Yeah, I got kids now, but like a few years down the road, I'm going to get my life back as a father. And another acknowledgement for you, Tibi, from Andrew. He said, I get the sense that people get to experience light, joy, humor, and energy when they're in a conversation with you, Tibi. So take that to heart.
Thanks, Andrew.
Maria has a question here, which is random question. I'm being a tad vulnerable. Thank you, Maria. Before relocating to the Netherlands from New York City, I was much more open. Being in these parts, I feel I hold myself back. Is that related to connection? But I'm great at connecting with folks. Before I have anything to say, do you have any thoughts on that, Tibi, now that we've just been in a conversation about connection?
I guess she has to reconnect with what she's good at. If she's good at connection, then it's just a different setting, a different place. So what's different then? Nothing really.
Beautifully said. Well, and probably
so we just sometimes have a sense that we just moved to a different place, and now I have to build everything from scratch. I have to like build this identity from scratch.
Yes. Yeah. So Maria, just based on what you shared, it sounds like who you are is connection. You're great at connecting with folks. And the way I find our fear works is anytime we move into a new paradigm, and usually a bigger paradigm. So we step from like, this life's great, but now I'm ready for a bigger, I want to experience and be with more of life. And then more, every time we move to the next one, it's like we forget who we are and and our fears come back. And so there's probably like an edginess to connecting with people, with the Dutch, the people in the Netherlands. They speak a different language along with 58 others, because those Dutch people seem to speak so many languages. And they're all tall and they have a different way of being. And at least for me, that can be kind of edgy. You know, are they going to like me? Who do they need me to be so that they do like me, rather than me trusting, oh, people like me. I don't have to be anyone different. And so what I'm present to is it sounds like you've taken this step, and now there's just the process of remembering who you are and trusting the connection you are and the delight that you are for the space, trusting the gift you are. Cool. We don't have too many other comments other than just Victor said, great work, guys. Thank you. Tommy says, beautiful on both sides this morning. So thanks for partnering with me this morning, Tibi. Where do people find out? Is there a place? I know you said like your last photo is not any coaching related. So is there anywhere people can find out more about you?
Facebook, I guess, but that's not much they can find out. It's just about my personal life.
Are you open? Are you open to people connecting with you?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If someone's like, hey, I really like that conversation, can we chat? Are you open to that?
Yeah, Facebook, or I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Excellent. Okay, so LinkedIn, Facebook, you can message Tibi. There's a couple things I'll share. One is is it next Friday? Let's check. Yeah, next Friday is going to be really fun because I've got 2 members of the Forge that are going to be on the call with me. One of them will be coaching the other one, and then I will be providing feedback and training on their coaching as it's happening in the moment. So you'll get a taste of what we do in the Forge. You'll get to see kind of where I'm looking as I'm developing someone's coaching, someone's transformational capacity. And I think it's going to be a really, really special, cool conversation. And David and Maximilian are both phenomenal people that you're going to find delightful and fun and cool to be with too. So that's going to be super cool. That's next Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific. And the other thing I'll share is I'm in the process of reinventing my practice so that it can integrate more with using plant medicine as well as coaching. So I'm bringing in 2 modalities. And the way that's going to look is that I'll be working with people a bit of a different way. I'll be having open calls on the second week for all my clients to come and join and meet each other. And then we'll be going and doing plant medicine together on semi-regular intervals. People don't have to come the whole time, but they'll be able to come usually once every 2 months. I'll be going down. And so you don't have to be a client to come join me for that. If that's something that intrigues you, if anything I've shared about that or anything about my work sounds kind of compelling to you, reach out, let's talk about it so that, because it's really cool what is getting created. And I'll share, it's a little bit edgy, a little bit scary. I'm doing the same thing you're doing, Maria, where I'm like, I'm stepping into a bigger circle and it's scary and I'm forgetting who I am. So all of that stuff's happening. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Tibi for coming and hanging out. Love you guys. Have an amazing weekend and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay,
see you guys.
You stay here, Tibi.